What is Thainess? That's a question that's very hard to answer from both non-Thai citizens and from Thais themselves. Justice Potter Stewart once was asked to describe obscenity, and his response was along the lines of, "I know it when I see it." Now, I'm not saying that Thais are obscene, don't get me wrong, so if that's what you took from my statement, let me be more clear. Thainess is a quality that is instantly recognizable and nearly impossible to explain to someone who has never met a Thai person. That to me is Thainess. It's like being in love for the first time. You can read 100 poems about love, but until that feeling hits you, it's really something that's beyond your grasp. And above all other themes introduced in The Windup Girl by Paolo, I'm going to murder his last name here, Bacigalupi? I could be wrong, but let's say it's Paolo Bacigalupi. Again, above all other themes introduced in this book, it's a post-apocalyptic sci-fi novel that takes place in the 23rd century Bangkok. Above all other themes, Thainess is at its center. It is Thainess that makes the thriving metropolis of Bangkok the center of trade in not just Asia, but the entire world in the 23rd century. It is Thainess that serves as a motivation for all the Thai characters, and it is Thainess that resolves the book's finale. This is not a Mad Max post-apocalyptic world, at least not in Bangkok. In this world, the resilience and adaptability of human beings and their societies have allowed commerce, trade, and social order to continue, albeit with a very different feeling and in a very different environment than what we're used to today. Oil reserves are so low that only the very rich own cars, and seldom do they ever drive them. Lights at night are mainly candlelight. So again, you could say goodbye to air conditioning and things of that nature. It's never adequately explained why things like wind turbine and solar have not replaced the fossil fuels for stuff like that. I can understand transportation being something that is difficult, but they had to have seen things like lighting the streets, lighting houses, and whatever. They had to have seen that coming, so it's not really explained in the book, and it's really not important to the themes of the book anyway. Genetic modification has run rampant and wreaked havoc on the world. The introduction of genetically modified plants have caused certain diseases to spread, and a pandemic of plant diseases, which are deadly to humans as well, have spread throughout the world. Thailand long ago saw this coming, and the government has kept a huge supply of plant seeds that is hidden and secret and not known to these large calorie companies that now own the world. They keep these seeds that are in their unaltered states hidden away. Westerners comb the streets of Bangkok looking for counterfeit fruits and veggies that are grown and have come from their natural seed sources. In this world, certain fruits have gone extinct and nearly extinct. For example, rambutan, a strange-looking fruit with a sweet, delicate taste and a strange sea urchin-like appearance, is so rare that most people don't know what it is. Certainly most Westerners don't know what it is. These Westerners are looking to take samples of them and patent them and modify them, and Thailand is trying to prevent this. These giant multinational corporations aren't just modifying plants, by the way, they're also modifying animals. This is a world where oil and gold are not as important as calories, so caloric consumption and use is now currency. Therefore, giant elephants were modified, and I mean talking like giant elephants. The elephants we have today are nothing in comparison to the ones that roam the streets now or are being used in factories now. Giant elephants, they were modified efficiently to carry out labor-intensive tasks that allows their calorie to work ratio to make it profitable for those who can't afford them. Think of Apple's fixation on energy to performance ratios in their products or their chips, and you kind of get an idea of the ratios for calories from animals and their outputs. Along the way, strange modifications, perhaps bootleg ones, are also evident. Cats are now largely invisible because they can blend into the background, sort of the way octopuses can change their pigments and perfectly match whatever environment they are in. The book's characters are also fleshed out in this book, not just the Thai ones. A Malaysian Chinese refugee named Hock Sang, he escaped an ethnic cleansing and massacre that took place in Malaysia. He escaped to Bangkok. Hock Sang's really interesting. Hock Sang was a successful businessman who witnessed his family being massacred and the riches taken away from him. And he has to make do being an administrative clerk of sorts to this American that he despises. Another interesting character is the wind-up girl herself, for whom the book gets its title. Her name is Amiko. She is a genetically modified person designed specifically for the type of work she's forced to endure on a daily basis. Basically, quote-unquote, male companionship of a very specific type. Wind-up girls, along with genetically modified products of any kind, are actually illegal in Thailand at this time. But she was brought to Bangkok by a Japanese diplomat and basically abandoned and forced to fend for herself. The insults to her body and dignity described in her introduction of the novel are so sad and infuriating that when she comes to the realization that she can escape and she makes plans to do so, well, this kept me flipping through the pages rooting for her. Other notable characters are a man named Anderson Lake. He's an American working for Agrogen, and he's also Hock Sang's employer. He runs a factory making kink springs, I think that's what they're called. The technology kind of confuses me, but basically these springs can store gigajoules of energy. It doesn't really matter other than to explain that in this world, oil is no longer your energy source. Calories are. I believe the springs are wound by these giant elephants capable of doing this. Anyways, Anderson is running his company at a loss, knowingly, because his real mission is to discover the hidden Thai seed banks and grab hold of their reserves. Paolo really writes a world that's both recognizable and completely unrecognizable. It's a recognizable world for anyone who's visited Thailand. The superstitions like talking to ghosts, the tribespeople form the allegiances based upon alignment with the military or police factions, along with commoners who associate themselves with political groups that identify themselves through color. When I say color here, I'm talking about colored flags, not the color of their skin. All of these are allegories for current day Thailand, believe it or not, and the machinations of how the country sort of works. The author's understanding of this is impressive to me. But this familiarity also shares itself with an unrecognizable world to a lot of us. A world that anyone of us, at least me, would find it hard to live in. Calories used as currency, spies hunting for seeds, cats that disappear before your eyes, elephants the size of small buildings, and blimps that carry travelers around instead of airplanes. It's a post-apocalyptic world that functions in some sense and also thrives in other senses, despite the sacrifices that have to be made by humans. But all of these quasi-steampunk elements, all of these post-apocalyptic technologies and such are really just a backdrop to the actual story. It's Thainess that reigns above all else. At its core, it is Thainess. There are moments in this book where I wonder if the author is reducing Thai people to stereotypes or vulgar and one-dimensional depictions, but he proves that he gets Thai people here. For example, Kanya, who is a young woman appointed as chief of the Environment Ministry, is forced to meet with the calorie companies who finally gain access to Thailand's seeds. This is a heartbreaking concession that the kingdom makes under duress from Western powers, seeking to come in and take whatever spoils they see fit. History may not repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes, right? Even in sci-fi. When she is directed to take the leaders of the companies, these are the companies that run the world, by the way. They essentially run everything. She's directed to take these guys into the bank. When this happens, what she does to conclude the storyline in this novel is so quintessentially Thai. It made me burst out laughing with joy, and quite honestly, being part Thai myself, with pride. Her Thainess here, indeed the Thainess of all the characters here, is not ornamental. It's an integral part of how the story resolves and unfolds. The Thainess of all the Thai characters is an essential element of the book, and at its very heart, what makes the story so unique and profound. Great job to this author. So at the real risk of sounding a little bit too brief or even terse, something that I'm not accused of very often, by the way, I'm just going to give this a full moon across the board. This was the perfect read for me. I believe this was also the author's first novel, Bacigalupi, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Sorry to the author if I'm getting it wrong. I mean, he just knocks it out of the park here. A great, great read. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much, everyone.